trips to the Dominican Republic have been many, 37 in number now, starting in 1992, when an MCC preacher in Atlanta, Georgia, decided that the way to build community is through building buildings. And so we were invited to join him and, or I was invited, 18 other Americans who met in Atlanta, Georgia, flew to Miami, then to Santo Domingo for 1 week in November of 1992. What an experience. First of all, none of us knew how to build. My father was a carpenter back in the 30s, but I didn't pick up that gene at all. In fact, most of my nails go in sideways, but that's all right. We somehow, in the space of 1 week, 5 working days, managed to build a pavilion. That was all it was to begin with. Posts constructed on a slab floor and with a roof. It kept the rain out. It actually became not only just the church, but during the week it became a community center because it rains there a lot and kids just naturally want to be out of the rain, so they would go there, and that was the place to meet up with people. Again, building community by building buildings. Who would have thought, huh? Over the years, the church grew. On subsequent trips, I put up a wall in front. Call it a privacy wall, because behind the church we had constructed also the first flushing toilet, shower, laundry facility in the village. Well, you can imagine people gathered in church with somebody with a towel around them waiting to get into the restroom and take a shower. It was not a pretty sight, or if that's the way you go, then it was a very pretty sight, but it distracted you from church. Anyway, so we put up a privacy wall, and then in subsequent years, we built walls along the side, and then we ran out of money, but the church in Dallas, Cathedral of Hope, came along, and they put in windows, and it is now a nice, solid, walled church, if you will. I call it the most beautiful church in the world because I helped build it. I saw the dirt ground that we were going to use, and I saw the finished product, and I see its use today. And it is amazing. It is quite a growth. Over the years, the people have decided, the church people decided that they needed a school in that area. So the church became the school. We put in folding screens and made the church 3 classrooms. But that wasn't enough, even using kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade in the morning, and 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade in the afternoon. Interestingly enough, that is the model that the schools in the Dominican Republic use. Morning is for the youngsters, afternoon is for the middle school or middle grades, and then the evening is for the high school. They use the same building, 3 different classes, 3 different groups of students, 3 different teachers, 3 sets of students. That's their model for how they use their facilities. Wouldn't it be great if we could double or triple up our school? I mean, I don't know how much Hayes Junior High is used across the street, but it could be used easily, much more, if we followed that model. Except desk size. Yes, there are problems with desks. But hey, people work around it. It's not an insurmountable sort of way to go. Fast forward 25 years. I haven't reported on the 25th anniversary. And last November, Trudy and I were privileged to go to the Dominican Republic and celebrate with them the 25th anniversary of the founding of the church. I'm not going to say it's grown all that tremendously. We still get about the same number of people coming to church, but the makeup has changed. Kids that I knew, little kids that I knew when I first went, grew up. They're now married and have families of their own. And those kids are now starting to grow up. And they don't call me grandpa, but they might as well, because I've seen this community just flourish, grow, and become, I think, what they wanted to be. We celebrated with a big pavilion. We used the resources not only of that village, but also the orphanage, which is about 20 miles away, 15 miles away. And they came to help us celebrate also. And we spent all day from, I guess we started around 9, 10 o'clock, till around 4 in the afternoon, just having a good time. I was asked to talk about the first pastor whom I didn't know when, before I went. He was a long-term MCC pastor, had pastored San Diego and a few other churches. Howard Williams was his name. And he went down to the Dominican Republic to retire. And lo and behold, while there, he noticed a lot of street people, mostly. They were kids, 13, 14, 15, who were out and homeless and who had difficulty making ends meet. And because they were now in that awkward age of not knowing who they were or what they were or how to get along, they felt they were outcasts. And Howard started talking to them and said, well, gee, would it be all right if we came to your house on Sunday and we could have a little church service? And Howard said, well, okay, here I go again. And sure enough, built up that little community. Pretty soon the guys started asking Howard, can I bring my mother? Can I bring my brothers and sisters? And again, the church grew into what is not a typical MCC. Yes, there were street people, but there were also elderly people. Well, now that I'm elderly, I guess I can't kick us out, right? But kids, the whole gamut of the population, and sexual orientation. There were just a whole host of people now coming to church on Sunday. In the DR, if you're lucky enough to have a job, in those days, I think the average wage was $1.50 American per day for a 12-hour workday. That works out to about 15 cents an hour. Would you work for that? Oh, by the way, I'm here to tell you that the Dominican Republic recently announced that minimum wage is going up to $2.50 an hour, or $2.50 a day. But folks, prices have also gone up, so they're not doing any better than they were back then, believe me. But because you earn by the day, you also get paid by the day. That is, at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock when you get off work, you're actually paid your money, because on the way home, you have to stop off and get beans and rice and whatever else you can afford to feed your family that night. And then the same thing happens the next day. Americans frequently ask me, well, why don't they just stockpile, save up, put it in the freezer and the refrigerator? Well, if you've ever been to a third world country, there ain't no such thing as electricity that you can count on. They do have electricity. It's mostly on from 6 at night to 6 in the morning, because the Army, the government, and business take it during the day. And it's not available to the people until evening. And then it's only available in what's called a rolling blackout, meaning a couple of hours here in this neighborhood, then that gets switched off, and this neighborhood gets turned on, and then that neighborhood, and then that neighborhood. And that's the way it happens. So even if you had a refrigerator that was plugged in, you're not going to get quality cooling of your food, and so there are very few leftovers. Once you get to the bottom of the rice bowl, somebody is going to finish that up, because it's not going to last for the morning. It's just not going to last. How can people live that way? Well, it's not how they can, it's the fact that they do live that way. Yeah. They have to. There's no alternatives. The government isn't going to pay for it. And it just is the way it happens. Do I like it myself personally? No. But is there anything I could really do about it? Not really. Well, that was last November. Went back this couple of weeks ago, and they have made tremendous changes in the church. They decided that they'd outgrown the space they were in, and so some American had donated some money, so they bought a plot of land not too far from where the original church was. And the first thing they built was a basketball court. Now, doesn't that make a lot of sense? But, again, like the pavilion, the original pavilion, it has become a drawing board for the community. Kids want to play basketball. They come and play basketball. And I'm talking a real solid 8-inch cement floor and cement pillars, so that that basketball court's not going to be demolished anytime soon. Now I'm going to pause here, because you may be thinking, well, the scripture I chose is a little bit strange. Don't let the right hand know what your left hand is doing. And yet, what am I talking about? I'm telling you about what my right hand has done. And not that I want to hide it from my left hand, but I need to share it with people. Otherwise, people don't know. They don't understand the level of poverty, the level of disadvantage that people have in a third world country. And the Dominican Republic, except for Haiti, is the poorest. Yeah, well, in Haiti is even poorer. But except for Haiti, the Dominican Republic is the poorest country in South America, Central America, and possibly the world. Although there are African countries which are probably just as bad off. Okay, what is their dream for the future? they decided after they built the basketball court that they would put in a couple of bathrooms. Okay, it's not the American way of thinking, but let's look at it from their viewpoint. If you're going to be there with a bunch of people, you don't want them to go tinkle on the ground, so put in some bathrooms. Next, after that, they decided to build the community center, and that is today finished. Well, I would say 99% finished. They still have to plug in some stuff. What is the community center? It is a room about this big in which church will be held, but also community meetings, bingo nights, getting in out of the rain if it should be raining, and you can't play basketball. You've got some place to come. It has 2 large bathrooms, toilets in that facility. It has offices. It has a large kitchen so that meals can be prepared. And again, God works in mysterious ways. Who knew what the right and left hand needed? But an American who's worked closely with the village and with the church, and who is not an MCCer. Her husband is Jim Dye, who designs golf courses and has designed several in the Dominican Republic. Anyway, she noted from where she was living that there was a house next door that was being renovated, and she just went over to the neighbor and said, "What you going to do with all that stuff?" And they said, "Well, we're going to give it away." Well, how about donating it to a church I know? And they said, "Oh, okay." So they got donated a large refrigerator, a 6-burner stove, an oven, the sink facilities for the kitchen, assorted cabinets, which otherwise would have just found their way to the dump. And those are now being installed. And they should soon have a functioning kitchen that probably is even better than the one we have here. I mean, they dreamed big and God delivered. What's their next dream? Well, it's the school. They have an architectural rendering, and if you happen to have $10,000 each of 10 of you, because it's going to cost $100,000 to build a school, they plan to put up first 5 classrooms on one level, and then when they get the money, put in stairs and build 5 more, so they'll have 10 functioning classrooms to educate kids. Why doesn't the state or the city, well, it's not in the city. Well, it is. It's hard to define. It's a village in the country, but it's not connected with any government except the national government. They do provide schooling, but you have to provide uniforms, and that means expensive uniforms because everybody wants to be different than the next class or the next school. You have to provide the books. You have to provide, it costs approximately $30, $40 a month to send a kid to school. And if you're only making $2.50 a day, you could spend all of your money just educating one kid. Now, it's a little bit better than that because I once loaned a pair of shoes to somebody, and he said, "Can I clean your shoes, your tennis shoes?" Well, I thought he was just going to brush them off. No, he washed them, and I didn't hear from him, I didn't hear from him, I didn't hear from him. And I finally went back and I said, "Where are my shoes?" He says, "Well, I'm wearing them. This is what I used to go to school in." "Yeah, but you're in high school." "Yeah, but in the middle of the day, they're used by my younger brother And he uses them to go to school. But he's only this size, and my shoe size is bigger than that. And what about my baby brother or my baby sister uses them to go to school in the morning. One pair of shoes was educating 3 children. Even though the shoe sizes differ by this much, they are amazing how much sock you can grow and stuff in and get into a shoe so that the shoe fits you. Those are just little stories that I pick up that it blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind. When will this be completed? I don't have the faintest idea. They believe maybe they could start construction by the end of the year, once they send out letters asking for donations, etc. I'm not asking you individually or as a congregation to collect money, but if you should come by a windfall, may I suggest that you consider Kids International. That's the umbrella organization in Tampa, which collects the money. It's a 501c3, so all money given to them would be tax deductible. And the school could be built maybe sooner than later. Should your right hand know where your left hand is spending its money? Well, I say yes, because if you never know how to spend, you'll never know, is it worthwhile and is it money well spent? Because of my experiences, I say yes. And I hope that by sharing this with you, you will find a way of open your eyes. You see something that needs doing, just do it. You don't need to have $10,000. Right now, Staples is having sales on books, on pencils, on things getting ready for school. Pick up a couple of dozen pencils. Bring them to church. I'm sure the church will find some way of handing them out so that kids can really learn in school, do well with what little they have. It's just eye-opening. You just have to be there and do what God tells you to do. And I do plan to go back, and I do hope that next time I'm able to tell you a couple of more stories. There are lots of stories to tell. Like how many people does it take, how many people will fill a VW microbus used as a taxi? I'm thinking your VW, well, I counted 22 in one, and some of them were literally hanging out the edge. But, what? Oh, they took the doors off. But there they were standing, holding on to make it to the next stop, to the next stop, to the next stop. Would we put up with taxi drivers like that? Would we do anything? No, but just allow your mind to wander and to think about what you can do to make this a better world. Thank you very much.